for Nolan Xavier Wells. 18 years old, gone too soon. Mississippi, y'all got some explaining to do. Mississippi, need to release that report. Low down, dirty ass Mississippi. What you hiding? Why you not talking? Why the hell you not saying a damn thing? Talk. I pray the family get real answers. And no, we the people won't go away. Never, hell no, not today. Mississippi, the Most High gonna really deal with you. July 4th lights, boat ride with the crew. Young King Nolan chasing dreams, Ocean Springs through and through. Horn Island called his name, he relaxing in the blue. 2 days later found on the sand. What happened to you? Independent autopsy dropped, but it's undetermined. Red mark on the back of the head, neck structures missing. Absurd. State sitting quiet, toxicology on the shelf. Family screaming for truth, but y'all protecting yourself. Nolan was a star athlete with a future bright. Now his mama crying every single night. Boating trip turned nightmare. Questions in the air. Who was on that island? Why the silence there? Mississippi, need to release that report. Low down, dirty ass Mississippi. What you hide? Why you not talking? Why the hell you not saying a damn thing? Talk. I pray the family get real answers. And no, we the people won't go away. Never, hell no, not today. Mississippi, the Most High gonna really deal with you. Grand jury waiting, but the people still fighting. No severe trauma, they say, but the story don't add up clean. Waves whispering secrets, covering up the scheme. Young black man gone, another one in the South. History repeating, time to open your mouth. What you hiding in them files? Why the delay? Transparency dying, why the family pray? Know the light was shining, future snatched away. Now the whole world watching what Mississippi say. We marching, we posting, we demanding justice loud for every mother losing sons behind that murky cloud.
I pray the family get real answers.
No more games, no more lies.
No more games, no more lies.
Nolan deserved better, the truth never dies. From the island to the courtroom, we standing tall. Mississippi,
Your reckoning,
gon' come.
one and all.
Finding all. Mississippi, need to release that report. Release it now, release it now, release it now. Need to release that report. Mississippi, what you hiding? Why you not talking? Why the hell you not saying a damn thing? I pray the family get a real answer. No, we the people won't go away. Never, hell no, not today, not today. Mississippi, Most High gonna really deal with you. For Nolan Wells, we won't go away. Release the report. Justice now.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. Okay, let's get some fire emojis in the chat, please. We have a guest in the building, and it is none other, the virtual building, that is, and it is none other than the lounge. Okay, so let's
Hey,
get the fire
Queen.
emojis
Hey,
in the
fam.
chat. Go ahead, beloved.
Hey, Queen. Hey, fam. Hey, everybody. Mods, everybody.
All right, hey, we're about to get into it, honey. Okay, now, I don't know when I'll be able to get Sam back on here, honey. Sam is taking it to the big time. Sam is taking it to the big time, honey. Sam is working with Crump and them. Okay, I see that Lee Merritt posted, and shout out to Sam for that. I see that Lee Merritt posted on social media saying that we need people, we need white allies like Nancy Grace and Sam. Now, I'm not going to call Nancy Grace an ally because she's covering this story favorably. I'm not going to call her an ally because I don't think that's ever what she is. But um, shout out to her at least for covering this story. Okay, but she's not an ally in my opinion. But Sam definitely is. So shout out to Secret Service Sam. Okay, now with that all been said, let's see who all is in here. Youngest Turtle, Juju is here, Greta Lee, Emperor Rex, Mr. Elevation, We the People. All right, Reggie starting us off with a super chat. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Pearly is here. DJ The Truth TV. Janie Lynn is here. All right, let's get into it. Dollface is here. Okay, I love it. Leon is here. High Confessions. Deronda, can I make you a mod, beloved? Gigi is here. Okay. Greta Lee. All right, Dangerous. OG Patrice is here with her nefarious self. TB is here. All right, let's get it popping. Buckhorse DC, Betty Boop. Okay, Body and Soul, or Body Soul, Chili Willy from Philly. Shannon is here. Morris Royalty. All right. Let's get into it. Everybody hit the like button. Hadassah is here. Keisha, Adrian. Okay. CBP is here. 57 Page Fox. Okay. KQB is here. Shout out to all of my loyal roads and everyone tuned into the Queen. And a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. I see you, Gino Zach, beloved. Okay. Now, Tay J, I see you. So before we get started, as per usual, you know we have to keep the lights on. So let's have a brief word from my sponsor. All right, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. Here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, with that being said, don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes Hair Oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find her products at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil. Okay? So with that all being said, let's get into it. Now, we're going to be talking about this alleged new evidence that they claim they have that's going to prove, they say the evidence shows he was on the island when Friend's boat left. That's what they're have you heard about this, Lounge?
No, I haven't heard about this. I
Well,
haven't.
let's get into it.
Uh-uh.
Let's get into it because I find it all interesting and quite frankly nefarious, okay? And I'm not going to believe until I see some actual proof and receipts. Don't you all find it
Mm-hmm.
interesting that Nolan was supposedly passed away on the 4th of July, and then his body was found 2 days later, and since then, we've not heard anyone say that they had a sighting of him on the island after the boat supposedly left. But now all of a sudden, when that audio comes out, and I want you all to pay attention. I told you all days ago, you heard it here first, that TMZ didn't have the first part of the recording in their audio that they, in fact, released. That's why when I played it for you the same day that I played the audio that TMZ, in fact, released, I told you I didn't want to vouch for it because I wasn't sure if it was authentic because it wasn't in TMZ's copy. But looks like they left it out on purpose because that's what they like to do sometimes, paint narratives, depending on who the story is about. Because we know that Harvey has some of his picks and favorites. Okay, so let's talk about it because I don't believe this. It just sounds all sketchy and like they're just trying to, really work hard at the cover up. So let's talk about it because it says evidence apparently shows Nolan Wells was still on Horn Island when his friend's boat left. TMZ has learned. Now, sources with direct knowledge of the investigation claim authorities have evidence of Nolan being on the Mississippi Barrier Island after the boat departed on the 4th of July, which would be a huge development. Now, here's my question. If this is such a huge development and it's actually true, and they have this information, have they bothered to share this with Nolan's parents who want to know what happened to their son? who want to know and don't believe that he was left on the island, that he would have asked and requested to stay there? Okay, have they told them about this? I bet they haven't. Okay, because they probably just came up with this story in the last hour, is my guess. Okay, I'm just saying. All right. I mean, we know that Warren, when he did the interview with Rage Batum Tatum, okay, when he did that interview, he did tell him that someone who he didn't mention by name, mind you, said that someone he knows told him that they saw Nolan on the island at 6 o'clock. So they were wearing a watch, or did they have their phone in hand? Because didn't he say that people don't tend to carry their phones? They keep them in the boats, right? Now, maybe they were
Yep.
on the boat. Maybe they were on the boat. I'm just curious. But when exactly was this? I would like to know how they knew exactly that it was 6 o'clock. Because for people who don't carry their phones because they don't want to drop them in salt water because they'd be ruined, right? Isn't that what they said? So all of these people seem to have such a marvelous, track of time. Last time I laid eyes on Nolan, it was 3 p.m. We left the island at 4:31 because the boat was taken on water. Someone had said that they had seen. See, here's what had happened. They saw Nolan at 6 o'clock. Everybody is on the dot. With the timing of it all. Okay. I have several questions, but let's continue. This is all so sad. So they go on to say, we have at least 2 witnesses who were interviewed by law enforcement say they saw Nolan on the island after the boat headed back to the mainland. My question is, when did they have these interviews and these 2 people come forward? Okay, because this has not been reported at all. Okay, they say that's significant for many reasons. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Now, TMZ enhanced the audio of Nolan's friend's frantic call for help when their boat was sinking, and people believe you can hear someone saying, "Is he dead?" They know darn well you can hear someone saying that, okay? Not believe. We all know what we heard. But our sources tell us that people on the boat have heard the enhanced audio and are telling people around them the audio is only panic from the boat sinking. Hold on just a second, beloveds. Okay, a telemarketer. Now, so that was panic from the boat sinking. So let me get this straight. So you're on a boat that's sinking and you're panicking. Then, so because you're panicking, you're in the background saying, "Oh, is he dead? Nolan's about to die." And you specifically call someone's name. And then you say, "Check his chest." And then you shout, "Wyatt, Warren." Okay, I'm sorry. What does that have to do with panicking? And then here's the thing, they were in a panic. Yeah, because Nolan was probably right there dying, as they were saying in the background, and they were panicking and didn't know what to do, which is why I believe that they called Mr. Jerry Adverkerson, which is Wyatt's grandfather, and he told them what to do, in my opinion. Now, I can't substantiate it, but I find that all very interesting, okay, because panic, so if they were in such a panic, how come that wasn't relayed when they spoke to the dispatcher? Because none of them, well, the ones in the background clearly seemed like they were in a panic, but the person that was on the phone, which was likely Wyatt's, okay, according to reports, didn't sound panicked at all. Quite frankly, sounded drunk and annoyed. Yeah, what? Who says that when you're on a sinking boat and you could possibly die? If the story was true, that is. And then the people are asking you or trying to assist you as best they can, being polite and courteous and concerned about your well-being as well as everyone else's who may be with you. And then you tell them you don't need the Coast Guard. So how much of a panic could you possibly have actually been in? Okay, well, let's continue. And then the lounge, I'm going to let you give your thoughts.
Okay.
So now, I want you to pay attention because they say everyone around was in a panic. You know what they're not doing? They're not denying any of this. They're not saying, "Oh, no, we didn't say that. Oh, no, that wasn't us." You know why they're not denying it? Because they know darn well we've heard it, and we know they can't. They know they can't deny it because they'll look like the liars that they all are. Because they've lied about other things, okay, in my opinion. Now, with that all being said, they say the call is from when one of the boys or one of the guys on the boat, Wyatt Pyron, called Tow, a private tow service. However, the sources wouldn't elaborate on the specifics of what was said during the emergency call. Now, our sources also explain that even though Cito was sending a boat to tow Nolan's buddies, a friend in another boat saw the commotion and towed them instead. Now, let me just tell you all, let me just reiterate to those of you who missed the morning broadcast, and please go back and watch that one as well as the second one that I did, okay, at your convenience. Well, here's the thing. For those of you that were in attendance, you remember I told you all that I don't believe that. It doesn't even make sense. You have a private tow company on the line, and you have a membership that your grandfather has purchased. So that being said, why would you cancel that just to have someone pull you by a rope, which I told you this morning, and I showed you the receipts, that it was dangerous? Or did I show you all the receipts, or I just read it to you? Either way, you can look it up yourselves, okay, if you don't believe me. But it's very dangerous for a boat, a 22-foot Triton, okay? Now, this boat was being pulled by a rope. I told you all the dangers of that due to the velocity, okay, due to the waves or the currents, the ripples, and all of that. Possibly they could have been in the water. The fact of the people on the boat making it heavier, not to mention these boats weigh like thousands of pounds. And so, likely, from the videos that we've seen, many of those boats were about the same size. Some may have been a little bit bigger, some a little bit smaller, okay, but almost the same size in comparison for the most part. So, the likelihood that the boat that they claimed towed them was way bigger than theirs, I don't really think so. It would likely have been only slightly bigger, if at all. It could have even been smaller, the person whose boat they're actually talking about. But I don't think anyone towed their boat, okay, because that's dangerous. Someone could have gotten hurt or even killed, as I told you this morning. Okay, so why would you risk it? The rope could have broken. Imagine pulling a boat. Now, just think about this. Imagine you're steering a boat and you have someone pulling another boat with a rope attached to your boat. What if the boat got pulled too hard? Okay, the velocity, the impact, and it slammed into the other boat. What if the people were falling all around and someone fell overboard? I mean, there are just a myriad of things that could have happened as to why that would be dangerous. And anyone who's been boating all their lives, as these kids say that they clearly have, they would know that. So why would they want someone to tow them by a rope when they clearly could have just waited for the Coast Guard to come, which they say they didn't need? Okay. And here's the thing. The grandfather, as I told you also on yesterday, the grandfather, songwriter Sonny said, like a tugboat, Queen, right? Okay, now remember I told you all that the grandfather called the captain of Sea Tow and said, oh, it's everything's fine. They don't need any help. They just panicked. They're okay. Yeah, okay. But when he made that phone call, how did he know they were okay? Because they had not talked back to him. And how do we know that? It's because the lady, the dispatcher that was talking to Wyatt, clicked over to call the captain and had Wyatt on hold while she was talking to the captain, who told her that he had just spoken to the grandfather. So that means the grandfather could not have possibly spoken to them prior to find out that they were in fact okay, that someone else was going to tow their boat. Because the whole time Wyatt was on the phone. And so was the grandfather speaking to the captain. So how does this even happen? Okay, see how it doesn't make sense? All right, if it doesn't make sense, it's probably what? A whole lie. Okay, a whole lie. And at the end of the day, like I told you all, that was clearly their alibi. That they thought was going to be good for them, but it turned out to be all bad when we found out that they were in the same vicinity as Nolan's body days later. Now, Nolan's self-described best friend, Warren Hudson, recently told Brandon Tatum on the Officer Tatum show that he last saw Nolan at 3 p.m. that day, but claims he talked to someone personally who says they saw the teen on the island at 6 p.m. So Hudson also insists he and his friends weren't even the last people to see Nolan. How would he know that? If you were the last person to see Nolan and you don't know what happened to Nolan and you just know that he wanted to stay on that island with Katie, how would you know who's the last person to see him? You could only, right? You could assume that Katie was the last person to see him, or you could say that Katie was the last person that you saw see him. But even that wouldn't be true, because if you said that, you would have to have seen him at the same time Katie was seeing him. You see how it makes no sense? Now, with that all being said, he's telling all of these stories that just don't make sense because he's lying. He's flat out lying. And I'm not even going to say alleged. I'm telling you he's lying flat out. Okay? He said that his friend group told Nolan to get on the boat when they were leaving, but he decided to hang back. Now, he said his friends told Nolan that, and he said it as though he saw it. And he also said that Nolan was cradling Katie, remember, and didn't want to leave. So this would have had to have been around 4:31, as I told you days ago. You heard it here first. Now you have the parrot of YouTube mimicking my talking points as per usual. But again, you all know that he said that. We heard it in the interview. Okay? So he saw him cradling Katie and walking away while the friend is screaming for him to get the F on the boat. You said you left at 4:31. But the last time you saw Nolan was an hour and a half prior. So how did you see him cradling Katie and walking back to shore or walking away from the boat? Anyway, and there's another thing. I don't know if you all caught this too, but when Trayson was speaking, he said that he dapped up Nolan, right? And told him, I love you, bro, and all that, and said he got lovey dovey because he'd been drinking. And then said that he walked off in the opposite direction as Nolan walked towards Wyatt's boat. Okay? Why do you think Nolan was walking towards Wyatt's boat other than to get on it? So there's that. Okay? That none of this stuff is making any sense. Now, his parents are conducting their own investigation, and the independent medical examiner was sent Nolan's body without his throat, lungs, and the original autopsy photos. And that's how you know they're up to something. Now, if they didn't send the body parts because they were doing further research, as I've told you, they could have just sent notes to let the other pathologists know this, but they didn't do anything of the sort. And I believe it's absolutely because they're hiding details. Okay, go ahead, the lounge, and tell us what you think about it all.
I find it to be just very suspicious in nature, all of it, from Tatum, interviewing what Warren, was it Warren? I think Warren, and
It was Warren and
Trayson.
Traced. Hold on one
Yeah.
minute, the lounge. Let me just remind you because you said the C word on here last time and I had to edit the video. I hate to edit the video because then we lose the chat. So please, if you call Tatum any words, make sure it's
Mhm.
raccoon.
Oh,
Just a
okay.
reminder,
Gotcha.
friendly reminder. But go ahead,
hmm
beloved.
Yeah, so when they were both on there, like one thing I kind of there was a lot of takeaways from both of their interviews. I didn't watch
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch all of both of their interviews, but I watched some pieces of it. But what I did notice in that takeaway of Warren was that he said that he called the Coast Guard. Did you
Mm-hmm.
remember that portion? He said he
Yeah, he
called the
did say
Coast
it.
Guard. Yeah, so if you called the Coast Guard and then you called the tow what's it called, the tow people to tow the boat away, but then you're saying that you don't need help. I feel like that was, of course, more like a panic. Like they trying to call a Coast Guard, they trying to call the tow, the boat tow company, but then you're telling them that you don't need, the Coast Guard to come. You don't need them to come. Everything's okay. The grandpa said, "Oh no, they're okay." And I think that's the time and the point where actually everything was, of course, we heard the audio. Everything was literally going on at that time of Nolan losing his life at that time point because they were all panicking. He was talking crazy to the operator. He was like,
Mm-hmm.
"What, huh?" And it sounded like he was high and he was, drunk, like they were drinking. But my thing is too, because I don't know anything about boating and the boating laws or whatever. Is there a
Mm-hmm.
certain age that you have to be on these boats, like to drive a boat? Do
I'm
you
not sure. That's
know?
a good question. Let me look that up. But hold on. Let me
Yeah.
just say this, beloved. When
Uh-huh.
Warren was saying that he called the Coast Guard, he wasn't
Uh-huh.
talking about when he was on the boat. He wasn't talking about when
Oh.
he was on the boat. He was saying that, see, what he was trying to do was establish the fact that he's the one who called the Coast Guard to look for Nolan after he realized that Nolan hadn't reached out to them and he said he couldn't get in touch with them. That was his cover story. You understand what I'm saying? He was trying to
Oh, okay.
exonerate, he was trying to clear himself. That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
He said, I'm the one, remember, because he said, I'm the one that called his mom. He said, Javon didn't
Uh-huh.
call her. Yeah, but Javon gave you the number
The
to call
number.
her. You see, so
Mm-hmm.
please sit down somewhere trying to throw Javon under the bus. If you were really Nolan's best friend, why in the world didn't you have Miss Christine Wansley's number? Okay, you
Uh-huh.
see how that goes? Trying to paint
Exactly.
narratives. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And then, like for Trayson's interview, he's sitting there. Of course, he has filthy clothes on. I mean, I couldn't believe he would even interview him in filthy clothes. But anyway, he was interviewing him. Tatum was interviewing Trayson, and his hands, they were just like crossed, like you said. Probably he was nervous. He didn't want to say something. And then I seen he broke down crying, but I didn't see actual that portion of what was being said or whatever. But just the interview in itself, for him to sit up there on the interview like that, folding his arms and stuff,
Mhm.
and seem like he don't want to say something possibly that he don't want to get in trouble for with the other boys for saying. But it was just
Right.
like really, really, and then like Tatum. it's like he's trying to console and pamper these kids, knowing that they are possible. I'm just gonna say alleged. You know, how can I say it? The
Yeah,
ones
they said
who
possibly.
unalive.
That's the same thing. You're not saying that they definitively did it. You said possibly. And it is a
Hmm.
possibility that they did it. It's also a
Yeah.
possibility that they didn't. But I think that
Hmm.
they did.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
And
that's
here's
what
the
I'm saying.
thing.
Me too. And he's trying to pacify them, like, did you do anything? Did you? I'm like, how are you trying to like you trying to really pacify them?
He's doing that for his grip because the people, the MAGA millions that he loves so much and wants to be one of,
Hmm.
yeah, they're he's their pick me. And they pay him good money for this stuff. He makes a lot of money doing it, so he's gonna
Yeah,
keep up his grip. Now,
I
what I want to
heard
say to
that.
your question about how the age limit for someone driving a boat in Mississippi, I looked it up, honey. It says there is no absolute minimum age to drive a boat, but rules depend on a boating education certificate, your birth date, and adult supervision. Now, they say under 12 years old can operate a motorboat or personal watercraft known as a PWC only if an adult who is at least 21 years old is on board with them. Okay, so
Wow.
that's what it says, which I find
Hmm.
interesting. Yeah,
Because
so,
didn't he say that there was no adults? Did he say nobody over 20? He said something about 21, right?
well, yeah, they didn't have any adults on there, but that's if you're under 12. At the age they were, I guess they could go ahead because there's no
They was
minimum.
okay. Yeah,
Basically,
okay.
if you're under 12, you just have to have supervision from an adult.
Oh
Okay,
wow.
another
That's new to me.
thing,
I didn't know that.
yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that either. 12 years old, that's crazy. Now let's go to this video of this young lady who noticed some of the things that Warren was saying in that interview with Officer Rage Batum Tatum. Let's go to that. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance, beloveds. Here we go. I need my overlay because she's going to show some of Tatum's video.
About the boat when it comes to the Nolan Wells case. Boys beat him up for one, with Warren's little brother, and for two, he messed up Wyatt's boat. Y'all are not clicking. I'm going to clip him in. Just look.
What boat was Nolan on?
Nolan was on Wyatt's 22 Triton.
Okay, so y'all remember when he also said this.
How did you find out that this boat is sinking?
Well, I walk back over and like we're probably around each other for a little bit. I mean,
Y'all are not listening to him. He asked this man, how did you find out the boat was sinking? Response was saying, we're probably not around each other for a little. He's not asking about no.
I walk back over and like we're probably around each other for a little bit. I mean,
See how he's saying Nolan was nowhere around during this time? But why are you saying, okay.
so once I got back over to the boat, I got on the Triton and
what boat did Nolan drive and ride on or whatever?
Nolan was on Wyatt's 22 Triton.
Why are you getting back on a Triton if you drove the 18-foot? Hold on, let me make sure. Hold on.
He's an 18-foot Palm Beach, and Wyatt, I drove the boat.
Okay, so y'all following me along, right? Yeah, okay. So he drove a different boat, but getting on the boat that he claimed Nolan was on the road back on, and they were gone by 4:30, and he didn't see Nolan? Okay.
I got on the Triton, and the Triton had probably about 6 inches of water up to the transom. And I was freaked out because I'm good friends with Wyatt, and that was his boat. And
Okay, so he asked, how did Warren know the boat was sinking? Warren said he went over to the boat Nolan was on and realized that it was sinking, but it pissed him off because Wyatt is his buddy. Why are you mentioning, like, if y'all were over there on some cool shit, everybody was kumbaya, why would it make you upset that the boat was sinking if Nolan didn't just get into a fight with your little brother? Or did he get in a fight with Wyatt because Wyatt's boat that you guys let Nolan on? Because throughout this whole interview, you did not mention who drove that boat to the thing, which it was Nolan. So Nolan got in a fight with your brother. You was upset. Let me let him finish.
no water's coming out, no access water's coming out. And, it was a big issue because I think the reason was because there were so many people getting on and off the boat. And at some point, the boat was very, very crowded. and there was just a lot of people on, so that it drags water in. And eventually, when I was over there, it was a bunch of younger guys like my brother's age, and I mean, Nolan. I never saw Nolan over there.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And but okay, sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
So you get
He lost his train of thought. He means he couldn't remember the next line, okay, from his script. Now, that's just my opinion, mind you.
I'm sorry, but how did that question make you lose your train of thought? All he asked you was Nolan there? Are you sure this wasn't Nolan in the clip? Is that why we hear them saying, get the fuck off the fucking boat? They wanted him off of the boat because he flooded the boat, basically, and they were mad about the fight. He keeps saying his little brother, somebody got in a fight with his little brother. Nolan got in a fight with Wyatt about the boat. That's it. That's all. Listen to this last little clip that I'm going to interest in.
I went back to my buddy's house that I stayed the night before, where we all met up, and stayed together the night before. And
which was Wyatt's house, because you said you and Nolan spent the night at Wyatt's house together, right? Okay.
My buddy got a call from this guy, and the guy was like, oh, what's going on with all this Nolan stuff? Very aggravated. Yeah, every right to be, but I mean.
Am I hearing this right? Did you say he has every right to be upset? Who's aggravated, and why do they have every right to be aggravated? What are they aggravated about?
Now, that is a very good question. He had every right to be upset. What would he be upset about? You all just went to Horn Island. You had a great time from the looks of it, from the video footage, right? There was everybody out there partying for the 4th of July, having a good old time. Okay? So what did he have a right to be upset about? Now, I really have questions. And here's the thing. Trayson claims to have gotten into a fight. Warren claims that his little brother got into a fight. He never said with whom, but he said his brother got into a fight, was very upset and all of that, and he had to go rush over or whatever to check on him. Was Nolan involved in one of these fights with one of them? I think he was. I think he was. And I also think that we heard Nolan's voice in one of those videos. Now, Trayson says that he was yelling in one of the videos, but there was one video where someone was specifically saying, give me my effing phone. What the F are you doing? And then we find out later that they had Nolan's phone. So that means they claim that they left Nolan on the island without his phone. Now, I don't believe they left him on the island. I'm just telling you what they said, reminding you all that that's the story they told, that they left Nolan there with Katie. Even though Katie's sister says that's not absolutely true, it's a lie. So y'all left him there without his phone, and then we heard someone saying, give me my effing phone, what the F are you doing? And then y'all end up with his phone saying that it was in Wyatt's truck, and then it took you forever to bring it to Tashima. And then they claimed that she kicked in the door and all these things. The story just sounds like a made-for-TV movie at this point. But let's continue.
Why are they looking for Nolan aggravated? Because they feel like Nolan sunk that boat. He messed up the boat.
We were trying to calm him down, and he was just like, oh, where y'all at? My buddy said, we're at my buddy's house, and he said, all right, and then he just hung up. And
he said, lock them up.
Exactly. That's what they need to do. Lock them up. Okay, I'm sorry. This dude is clearly lying. He's clearly lying. Like what he said makes no sense. And then why is he not saying this person's name, whomever he's talking about? My buddy. Clearly he has something to hide. Now, the lounge, what do you think about this? Is he lying or not?
Oh, he's definitely lying. In my humble opinion, he's lying. The way he's talking to, it seems like he's a little got some arrogance with him too. I remember him saying in a part of this interview, I told Nolan to get on the boat like 15 times. What is it with these kids trying to tell the other kids, just like Carmelo Anthony? I told him to get out the 10, 15 or 10 times, whatever. They have some type of arrogancy, and maybe because it's oh, this is my grandfather's boat, my boat, whatever we're doing, this is ours. It's like they feel like they have some type of control over them. But I definitely think that I feel personally that Warren, he's really, really to me like a narcissistic person and very
Yes,
controlling.
absolutely.
And I believe that he had something to do. I believe the main person, possibly, in my own opinion, with Warren. I mean, with the situation, whatever happened with
Hmm.
Nolan. I believe Warren. He was like the ringleader, or at least one of the ringleaders to him losing his life.
I absolutely believe it. And there was someone that they're supposed to be so afraid of. I
Oh yeah,
wonder if
yeah.
that was, I wonder if that person is Wyatt, because I noticed when he said something about Wyatt being upset and he had every right to be.
Uh-huh.
It's like maybe he's the one with the bad temper, because we could tell when he was on the phone with the dispatcher that he's not a very nice person from the sounds of it. Why are you being rude to this
Uh-huh.
lady for no reason? She's trying to help, right?
Yes.
She's trying to get you all assistance, but this is how you're talking to her. So he's probably just nasty. Okay. And like I told you all, someone from Mississippi told me that, this person has a very bad temper. Okay.
Oh
Especially
wow.
when they allegedly do certain things they shouldn't be doing. Okay. And basically said that the people that Nolan was hanging with that day are known
Hmm.
for doing illegal substances. Now, I can't substantiate this. This is just what
Oh
people in
wow.
Ocean Springs have said on a couple of TikTok lives. And if you all remember, I played it for you and let you hear it yourselves weeks ago. Okay, there was a young lady named Alexa who was on a TikTok live who lives down there.
Hmm.
She was saying some things, and and there was a guy also. But now here's what I really found interesting, you all. Listen to this. On the day of Nolan's funeral, his parents sent notices to his friends and their families of intentions to sue them. All right, this is breaking news. Just remember you heard it here first. Now, listen to this. Nolan Wells' funeral was held on July the 20th of 2026, following his tragic 4th of July disappearance and death. The 18-year-old Ocean Springs teen's body was found 2 days later on the shore of Horn Island, where Wells and a large group of his friends had gathered to celebrate the holiday off of the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Now, Wells's family, represented by high-profile civil rights attorney Ben Crump, has launched an independent investigation into his death, and persistent speculation of potential foul play and the role his friends played on the day of his disappearance. Now, much of the focus in Crump's press conference has fixated on potential criminal conduct, though to date there is no publicly available evidence to support those claims. That's because they're hiding the evidence, in my opinion. Now, District Attorney Angel Myers McIlrath said last week all of the evidence will be presented to a grand jury, which is the norm for her office. Sure, it is. Okay, with the same care and commitment to the truth as every investigation. You mean those investigations into the deaths of Trey Reed, okay, or Shannon Wilson? Okay, I have several questions. All right, or Damian Cameron. Everyday death in the country, every death in the country, I'm sorry, every death in the country except those of natural causes, non-criminal car wrecks, are presented to a grand jury, McIlrath said. Many people don't know that. You know why many people wouldn't know that? Because grand juries are private. So you know what that means to me? That means that she could absolutely be lying and we would never know, okay? Because grand juries are private, all right? So, and they're not allowed to say anything. Now, on the day of his funeral, attorneys representing Wells sent spoliation letters. Now, pay attention, because we learned about this during the Diddy trial. Okay, Spence, or you all did. I learned it in school. But they sent spoliation letters to several of Wells's friends and their parents. Now, these letters typically serve as the first step of an anticipated civil lawsuit. Okay, they want them to preserve evidence. Remember how they wanted them to preserve all the digital evidence and all of that stuff in Diddy's trial and, electronic communications and whatnot. So they say you are hereby placed on notice that litigation concerning the death of Nolan Wells is reasonably anticipated. Now, you all heard it here first, because didn't I tell you all when his mother filed with the court, she filed that petition to open up Nolan's estate? I told you all what was coming, right? Didn't I tell you all what was coming? I said a wrongful death suit is coming, because they may not be able to get justice in the criminal court because these devils are lying and hiding the truth and covering things up. And there's a whole lot of people, in my opinion, that are absolutely helping them that are in cahoots. So with that all being said, if you can't get it one way, get it another. Because the devils only love blood and revenue. By the devils, I mean the MAGA minion types that are so racist they can't stand people who look like me just because you look like me. Okay? So yeah, lawsuit incoming. Please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, they tell them that you're hereby put on notice, okay? Accordingly, you have an immediate legal duty to preserve all materials of all kinds within your possession, custody, or control that may be relevant in any way to the claims, defenses, okay, to the claims or defenses, all right? That's what the letter says. Now, this duty includes not only to you, but also your family members. It means don't be trying to hide anything. Don't try to dispose of any evidence, and that includes the police, okay? So with that all been said, it also extends to any person or entity providing services to you, okay, acting on your behalf or who is subject to your control. Okay, Judge Ashley Cole, are you listening? Okay, don't try to help Warren get rid of anything. Okay, don't try it. Now, and I'm not saying that she has, but I think that she has. But anyway, let me continue. Now, Magnolia Tribune has obtained a copy of the letters, which are 10 pages long, identifying categories of evidence which the Wells' family is asking recipients to preserve. Materials sought in the text messages, group chats, emails, phones, and laptops, social media accounts, photos, and videos. We know that they've already deleted things from their social media. First of all, they deactivated their social media, but they also deleted things from their social media. Remember, they deleted that picture of the pool party that they claimed was June the 27th of 2026 and not July the 4th. Okay, but they didn't delete it off of threads. Okay, this is what Evans supposedly uploaded. Okay, so we know that they have absolutely likely been getting rid of evidence. So it includes everybody that they're associated with that could possibly have anything to do with the case, anyone acted on their behalf, or any of those things. And they go on to say, the Magnolia Tribune has also confirmed that these letters were served or were received by multiple friends and their families. Now, Crump, who is not licensed to practice law in Mississippi, okay, as I told you all before, he has someone that he's working with down there. Okay, he has associated with the Ridgeland-based law firm of Carol Bufkin PLLC. Okay, the letter was signed by Gary Bufkin, who is no stranger to high-profile cases. Now, Bufkin represented former Hinds County District Attorney Jody Owens in the Jackson bribery scandal. Okay, as well as Nancy New and her nonprofit in the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, okay, TANF. And there was a scandal that she was involved in, supposedly. Both ultimately entered guilty pleas. Now, Bufkin also represented a Chinese nonprofit in a lawsuit filed by the state of Mississippi against China for its role in the stupid 19 pandemic. Okay, and also, speaking of that, for the person who was in the chat this morning questioning me about whether or not I'm a prophet, I forgot to mention that I predicted stupid 19, the pandemic, and the jab. Okay, and the things that I said about the jab got me in a bit of trouble with ScrewTube. But I said it all before it even happened. Okay, and anyone that was following me back then in 2020, you all know that. With that all been said, let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, I want to ask you, the lounge, what do you think about this lawsuit and them being told, being put on notice? I mean, can you just imagine the looks on their faces when they heard the news?
Oh yeah, because they feel like they didn't do anything. They feel like, oh, we ain't did anything trying to hide it. We didn't unalive, Nolan. So I can imagine they're like, how or do you feel like you're going to sue us? But I was also wondering too, um, what kind of insurance that boat is supposed to have. Because like different places, like you got properties or whatever, and you're supposed to have like, so much insurance. So I wonder if that falls under like boating as well. I'm pretty sure it does because, people can go out there and drown or whatever, and that can be like, a lawsuit waiting to happen. But
Right.
yeah, so I really think that they probably feel like they don't want or have to pay the family for anything because they feel like, well, he was out there, that entitlement. When he was out there, he didn't have to go. He came on his own.
know what I would have liked to have seen? I would have liked Black Anthem says, Queen, you are on point all the time. Thanks for putting in work. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate your kind words. Okay.
Oh,
Um,
can you hear me?
at the end of the day, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, I was making sure you could hear. My phone was ringing. I'm sorry, but no, go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. Well, I was just, going to say that I just think it's all interesting that these things, they're telling all these different stories and the stories keep changing. Okay. And everybody, and now here's the thing that makes me very suspect of this supposed sighting by two people. Because like I said, Nolan passed away July the 4th. We're almost a month later after his demise. They've had the funeral and everything. And now for people to be coming out suddenly saying that they saw him on the island. Now, mind you, they're saying that they were interviewed by police. And I wonder when exactly they were interviewed by the police. Okay, and why the police is not being transparent with Nolan's mother. See, here's the thing. If you remember when they were talking, they were doing an interview, and she said she had not heard anything from them since that last Tuesday. It had been like a week. Now, if a grieving mother and father don't know what happened to their son and they're trying to find answers, and you claim you're going to do a thorough investigation just as you would for any other case, and you claim that everything's going to be by the book and all of that, why wouldn't you be reaching out to the mother, giving her, periodic updates, specifically like every day, right? Since this has been
Hmm.
going on. So they clearly have not been doing so, because I'm sure they didn't tell the mother weeks ago that someone claims to have seen her son on the island after everyone left. Okay, it seems to
Hmm.
me like they're just trying to scramble to get things together now, because the more receipts and the more evidence that come out, the more they have to tell lies, in my opinion, the more they have to try to switch up the stories and just try
Yep.
to paint this whole narrative to keep up the ruse. And again, this is
Hmm.
all my opinion. None of us knows what actually happened, but hey,
Hmm.
I absolutely believe that whatever happened was nefarious. And I want to say this, and then I'm going to let you speak the lounge. What I also think, beloveds, you know how we've had this talk about um this possibly being a ritual, by the Klan, or a party, a fight at a party, and all of that. Let me tell you something. I don't believe any of that. I don't believe any of that personally. Here's the thing. I do know that they have these rituals specifically on the 4th of July, and they definitely likely had them at the 250th anniversary of the United States. But I don't think that's what happened with Nolan. What I think what happened with Nolan is what I saw in my dream. Okay, I think that they were jealous. I think somebody was jealous. And the person that I think was jealous would, in my opinion, either have been Wyatt or Warren. But I think one of them was jealous over Katie. And Nolan had just met Katie, and she seems to have taken a liking to him. And I think that bothered someone, okay, immensely. And I also think that the person who had bothered, that wasn't their first time meeting Katie. They already knew Katie and may have already been talking to her and having conversations, maybe had even gone out on a date. Okay, but they didn't have a commitment, in my opinion. I'm just saying, maybe that's what happened. And the reason I think that is because I noticed that one of them said, and I believe it was Warren, said that someone called Katie or someone text Katie or something like that. How did they get her number if they didn't already know her? Right? But also, why did Warren initially tell Mrs. Christine Wansley that not only was Nolan missing, but that Katie was missing too? Where did he get that information from, and why are they not mentioning that? And by they, I mean TMZ, the CBS, CNN, any of these media outlets. Why aren't they mentioning those things? Why aren't they talking about the reasons for us having concern? Okay, about the lies and the switching up of stories and the painting of narratives, and the fact that Officer Brandon Tatum went down there to question them, but they didn't want to talk to the news media. But also, their lawyers that they lawyered up with didn't think it was a bad idea for them to talk to Brandon Tatum. Their lawyers probably told them go right on ahead, and probably told them what to say and what not to say. But sadly, they couldn't remember the stories. Okay, they got a little tripped up. That's why Trayson slipped up and told us that he gave Nolan a fist pump, and then he walked the opposite way as he watched Nolan walk to Wyatt's boat, which is the same boat, mind you, where we heard that phone call being made about the fake tow that they never really needed, because there was never anything really wrong with the bilge pump, in my opinion. Okay? So, and then again, as I pointed out to you days ago, Warren said during the interview with Rage Batum Tatum that the water was almost up. Didn't he say the water was almost up to the transom? And I told you all days ago what would happen if that were the case. Okay, constant or high water to the transom can damage a boat by entering through engine mounting coils or boats. I'm sorry, bolts, bolts, bolts. Okay, transducer screw holes or drain fittings and rotting the internal wood core or causing delamination. Okay, delamination. So, with that all being said, the water was that bad. It was that much water in the boat. Now we know that he also said that it was absolutely up to the batteries, which is another problem. Okay. And at the end of the day, so why wouldn't they have needed a real professional tow? Why would you risk destroying Wyatt's grandfather's boat by simply getting someone to pull with a rope that could break and snap or putting your lives in danger? Okay. But let me finish what I was saying about Nolan. Then the lounge, I'm going to give it back to you. What I feel like is this. I feel like they were playing that game of cat and mouse that I told you all I saw in my dream with Nolan. Okay, backing the boat up as he's walking, they keep backing up, this, that, and the third. And then Nolan does start to drown. Okay. And they're still sitting there laughing like it's hee hee ha ha. And then they panic and then they pull him out of the water. And then he died on that boat. Okay, he died on that boat, and I believe that they probably hit his head, maybe on the side of the boat or something, for that bruise to be back there. Okay, with a discoloration or whatever by the occipital bone. That is maybe where the trauma came from. His face being disfigured and unrecognizable. I've already explained to you the process of aquatic decomposition. So that very well could have been the cause. Okay, and these little bugs that inhibit people's bodies, corpses, okay, and other dead things when they're in the water. Okay, could have done more damage. So that's a possibility. I think that they absolutely did this and then tried to cover it all up. Okay, I don't think that maybe it was planned. I don't think they said to themselves, we're going to go out here and we're going to kill Nolan. I don't think that's what they did. I was thinking maybe at first, but I really think that what they did, and specifically because that other psychic says that she sees him or she saw Nolan fighting in the water, like splashing the water, and they were like mocking him or whatever. Okay, that I showed you all this morning. So I absolutely believe that that's likely what happened. And they panicked and freaked out, called the grandfather of Wyatt, and he told them to make that phone call to stage it as an alibi. That's just what I think. Now, you all can think differently. And of course, I want to know people's opinions. Cheryl Ann says, I heard a female voice on the boat. Also, yes, we heard it. Nolan's about to die. That was a female's voice. Check his chest. Absolutely. There was at least one female on there that we know. But also, why did Wyatt tell the dispatcher that there were 7 people on the boat? And then we heard someone counting in the background and they only counted 6. That's likely because Nolan was dead. And they were likely trying to let Wyatt know not to include him. Okay? Because did they throw him back in the water while they were there? And is that the reason his body was found in that same vicinity to where they made the call for the boat or for the boat tow that they never got, of course? Is that why his body was right there? Because think about this now. We know that the proximity to where they were and where his body was found was only 1 to 3 miles, as I looked it up and showed you. So there is a possibility, as far as I'm concerned, that what I said happened and what I saw in my dream is absolutely what happened. And then they could have just thrown him overboard. Okay. And then perhaps that's why he was in that vicinity. Now, some say that maybe they took his body with them somewhere, going to Fort Bayou and then going back and forth and maybe brought it back or whatever. But if he was dead on the boat, I would think that they dumped him right there. Why would you come all the way back and then risk someone seeing you, especially because someone reported that there were people that camped out on the island? And then also we know that the Coast Guard and other officials are, checking the island to make sure people are not doing certain things or whatever and aren't out there so late and everything, the rangers and whatnot. So I think that's possibly what happened. Okay, but either way, this is all nefarious. And this was absolutely on purpose, because why would you be playing cat and mouse with somebody in water that's so high? Do you all remember in the lounge? Please let me know if you remember this. When Warren was being interviewed by Officer Tatum, he said something about the water in a certain spot. The water is like up to your neck. Do you remember him saying that?
I didn't catch that part, but I have to go back and like replay it
Right.
and
You didn't see
listen
the whole
because
thing.
Yeah, yeah. But I didn't hear him say that. I did remember him saying though when the operator was asking him like how deep was the water or something like that. At first he said
Hmm.
some number and then he was like, "Well, we're in 30, I think 31 or 30 something feet of water."
Hmm.
I do remember that part. But it was to me so that's some really deep waters. And it comes like I'm just kind of thinking like how yeah, those waters being that deep like he was in the water and then they pulled him back on the boat and then throw him back off the boat like you said like I'm trying to just figure it all out. It's just like it's just so many questions, I guess, it's
Yeah, more
just
questions than answers. And
yeah,
and here's
it's
another
just
thing.
crazy.
There's also steep underwater drop-offs at Horn Island. Now, one of them said during the interview, and I believe it was Warren that said the water can be like deep as deep as over 30 feet. And that's a fact
Hmm.
because I looked it up, 30 to 35 feet deep within just a
Wow.
few yards, within just a few yards. And he did say something along those lines. Warren did, if I'm not mistaken. So I just find this all interesting because, for them to act like, hold on, let me read this comment. Nicole says it's a
Uh-huh.
video showing them beating him on YouTube. I don't believe that video. That video, I saw that. Someone sent that to me a week ago or so. That video is not Warren. I'm sorry, Nolan. That video is not Nolan. Nolan is lighter skinned, like a caramel complexion. The person in that
Hmm.
video looked to be about my complexion, maybe even a little darker than me. So that definitely didn't look like Nolan. Okay, I don't know if that was AI generated or maybe it was real and it was somebody else, but either way, it was not Nolan. Okay, that's why I never showed that video because I just didn't buy it.
Hmm. Yeah, I seen it. I didn't think it was him either. Like
Right. You
people,
didn't think so
that's the
either.
thing, but with this case, it's you got a lot of people muddying the waters, of course, trying to throw things out there just for clout or whatever, when
Mm-hmm.
we're really trying to figure out what happened to Nolan. And I don't know if you see, well, you did, you did, you mentioned this, I think yesterday on yesterday's live on
Mm-hmm.
how they're like basically going on Google and doing stuff to his mom. Yeah,
Yes, they were going on her going to her job, the website for her where her job is posted and leaving bad
yeah.
reviews.
Yeah, I seen Ben Crump posted that just a little while ago earlier today. And I was like,
Mhm.
these people are ridiculous. They are really ridiculous. And just the comments that they were saying, I don't trust her and this, that, and the third. That woman, I don't know her personally. We all don't know her personally, but she seems like a very motherly type of woman. She seemed like she's about her business. She's, you know, professional for one. And I think that's a lot of the things that a lot of white MAGAs don't like. She's black, she's educated, she speaks very well, and and then they're taunting her about her mourning. You can't
Mhm.
tell people how to mourn. Everybody mourns different. So I just think it's really ridiculous, needless to say, on what people are posting and how they're attacking her job. I mean, it's crazy. And then the craziest thing about it is people are going over there and putting that like comments, and then they have their profile picture. Do they not know and understand how social media works? They will go and find you just by your picture and your ID and figure out who you are, and even if you are really a patient of hers. So yeah, it's just it's this is really crazy, but the cover up is real. They really trying to cover this up, and also the governor was talking and basically trying to tell Ben Crump like to get out of here, stop investigating or whatever in so many words. And I'm like, you should be trying to work with the authorities, with Ben Crump and everybody, to try to figure out what happened. They should have actually even did put some warrants out for everybody in the boat, because if they would have arrested them, somebody was gonna break. Somebody is bound to break. So it's sad.
I'm sorry, I'm sitting up here talking, not even realizing I'm muted. Okay. So what I was saying was OG Patrice, thank you for this. Says Queen, there's an audio without the dispatcher's voice, and someone said you killed him, and they said another name, William. Okay, so thank you for that, beloved. Now I went and looked this up. This might be the video. Um, I think this may be the video. It says you killed him. Uh, this is the video that we saw this morning, the audio that we heard this morning, but it says, can we cover it up? Yes, I thought all about that. Oh, you killed him. He's already dead. Is he dead? Yeah. And then they yell out Nolan's name. Oh my God, Nolan, wake up. And then it's inaudible. Then they say, Wyatt. And then someone yells, get up, wake the F up. Just
Wow.
get the F up. Damn it, Bart. No-No's really dead now. Okay, so let's listen to this
Mm.
again while I look for this other audio that OG Patrice has seen. Now, OG Patrice, if you have that audio or know where I can find it, beloved, or if you can find it, please just send it to me. I'm going to look for it really quick.
Hey, hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
Am I?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership. Shut up! Shut the fuck up! Damn it, Bart.
Okay, so we heard that again, and that's the one that the audio engineer cleaned up. And shout out to her for that. Now I'm going to continue to look for the other one that OG Patrice is speaking on. Okay, but in the meantime, I want you all to get a load of this. Remember that psychotherapist who I showed you all the video of the other day? It was like a maybe 5 to 10 minute video where he was analyzing Warren and his behavior as he did that interview. Well, he was interviewed by Don Lemon. Okay, so let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Okay, it looks like OG Patrice has emailed me the audio. Thank you, beloved. So let me pull this audio up first because I want to hear this. I want to hear this, okay? Let me just get this queued up. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so with that all being said, shout out to Chronicle Speaks, who obviously reported this first. I'm because I haven't heard about this. But yeah, so Chronicle Speaks reported this. So let's shout her out and let's get into it. I'm gonna take Don off the screen for a minute. We'll go back to him because I want to hear this, what was said. Because this story just keeps getting more and more nefarious as the days go by. Like this is just getting real crazy. See how all of these receipts keep coming out the lounge, but yet they still keep saying foul play.
Yes, that's crazy. When we heard on the videos from what yesterday before,
Mm,
and that like what wake the F up, Nolan, he's dead, you kill him, what all these things, that is like um what's the proper word? That's not like no hearsay like type of evidence. That's like concrete solid evidence. You
yeah,
gather
because beloved,
everybody up off the boat, And so
Mhm.
and it was one of y'all seven or however many people was on the boat that said these certain things.
And like I said earlier, they have not denied the conversations that were in the background. They just made an excuse for it. They
Exactly.
said that they were in a panic. So that's why you say such things? Oh, okay. You talk about someone dying and about killing and all of that stuff while you're panicked. Okay, clearly.
That's crazy.
If you use headphones.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership. Hey, up! Shut the fuck up! What'd you say? Hey. It's coming up. We're just thinking. I don't know. Like we're going down. I don't know the phone number. It's either. I think it's. Try that. I know we have a membership, like guaranteed. I don't have the tag on here. It got ripped off. Reach me at 2. What? Yeah. Everybody talks away. What? No, we do not need that. Let me go look.
Listen. Listen, I want y'all to pay attention. Keisha says, Queen, you were right. They keep muting the phone because it was going down there. Exactly.
Oh
Exactly,
yeah.
beloved. He started muting the phone when he realized the dispatcher could hear what they were saying in the background. Okay. Once he realized that, he
Wow.
started muting the phone after every response that he, in fact, made.
Mm,
So
I
nefarious,
didn't think
honey.
about that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
North. All right. Are you ready? North 30 degrees by 46.72. Sorry, look. What do I need to send you? Yeah, what? No, we do not have the VHF radio. Okay, my coordinates are 30 degrees by 14.684 north, and then west by 88 degrees by 46.79. Yes, we are at Horn Island. Yes. If we were sinking, yes. No, we're not aground. We are in a 17 foot of water. We're in 31 foot of water. I want to get this boat unsank and towed back. Yes.
He wants to get the boat unsunk and towed back, but then y'all cancel the tow. Okay, now Marjorie says, thanks, Nancy Grace, enough for looking into this. Nolan and any other person that has been unalived by anyone needs full attention. There are so many of our Black children who never get I guess a chance to live. And listen, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing. Yeah, I would have to say thank you to Nancy Grace, but like I said, I don't consider her an ally of our community. At the end of the day, she goes hard in the paint against us much of the time. In fact, most of the time. I feel like she's doing this as a favor possibly to Ben Crump because she's cool with him. She mentioned him on her podcast. Okay, she's friends with him. So that's what I think. But I will give credit where it's due. So, like I said earlier, shout out to her for at least covering this. I did not like the way she covered and portrayed the Carmelo Anthony story. And that's why the Parrot Week 2 didn't report on that story. Okay? Because at the end of the day, Nancy Grace, she really doesn't care for Black people to get justice, in my opinion. Okay, now someone said Wyatt is on the phone with the dispatcher, not Warren. Yes, I know that. I have said that several times. Now, if I mistakenly mixed up the names, just excuse me for that. But yeah, I did say, I have said several times, okay, on previous broadcasts that it was Wyatt, because of course it was Wyatt's grandfather's boat. Another thing is, they seem to have been in such a rush that when they spoke to the grandfather, they didn't bother to get the membership number. Okay. And then why was Warren acting as though, or Wyatt, why was Wyatt acting as though he didn't quite know whose name the boat was in? He said, I think it's Jerry Advocason, or he said something along those lines. And he made it seem as though he wasn't quite sure. Okay. And maybe I don't know why he was confused because it's his grandfather's boat. So clearly the insurance would more likely than not have been in his name.
Yeah, it probably had to be in his
Can
grandfather's
tow it
name.
to Ocean Springs Harbor or Fort Bayou Launch. No, there's no children. Hey, Florida. Drop it off. How to jump in and pull the plug while you're going. Hold on. Take out of gear. Take out of gear. Hello. Take it out of gear. Okay, what's going on? What's up? There are 0 adults on board. No. Nobody here is over the age of 21.
And listen, let me just tell you all this too. For those of you who missed it, I told you all days ago that because of the maritime laws, anyone who was the captain, anyone who was steering the boat was absolutely responsible for making sure that everyone got on it. Okay. And just remember you heard that here first because I heard Wig 2 saying that today. Okay. Please pay attention. This girl, she mimics all of my talking points. She cannot help herself. But at the end of the day, yes, this is probably why there's going to be a wrongful death lawsuit because someone was steering that boat and that person, according to them, okay, according to the fake friends, Nolan didn't get back on the boat. But the captain is supposed to ensure that everyone who came on the boat is supposed to leave on the boat. Now, mind you, Nolan actually drove the boat when they got to the island. Did you all know that? Did you all know that Nolan drove the boat when they got to the island? But also, not only that, I told you all this morning that someone came out and reported that the grandfather actually sold memberships for Cito. He was affiliated with them. Okay, so that all seems like a conflict of interest, but it also not a conflict of interest, but it just all makes it seem even more shady and sketchy. I'll say that. And also that would explain why he was able to talk to the captain, okay, whom the dispatcher later called to ensure that they were going to get a tow. And then he said they don't need it. The grandfather had spoken to him. So that's likely why he was able to get in touch with the captain so quickly. Okay. Please pay attention. And listen, in cases like this, it's good to continuously go over certain receipts because you find things that you miss. Sometimes you hear people, and you may be focused on one area of the conversation that they're having, but then you come back and listen later and you find out other things that were said, just like this audio, because TMZ, they didn't have all the stuff in this audio, the beginning, part before the dispatcher picked up the phone. Okay. And that was absolutely on purpose, in my opinion. Okay. How could it not be? Okay. So there's more information going to continuously keep coming out.
Hello? Yeah, there's lots of people breathing on the boat. Like 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, we have life jackets available. A Triton, 22-foot offshore 22-foot Triton offshore sea flight hull. Okay, thank you.
I reached out to Ben Crump and also to Miss Christine. Hopefully they can get an audio forensic analyst to examine the original audio so we can know for sure.
And see, here's the thing. Like I told you all, they should have already had all of this stuff done. All of this stuff should have been taken care of. Like, why aren't the police doing these things? But they're supposed to be doing their job. I just find it all very interesting. I find it all very interesting. If they were doing their job, they would have done all of this already ahead of it. And another thing is, they're saying these people came out. They're saying there's 60 people that have done interviews with them, giving them information. And I find that very interesting. Because if you have that many people giving you that much information, I would think the case would have been solved by now. What about you, the lounge? The lounge, can you hear me? Maybe she stepped away for a second or is having some sort of technical difficulties. But let's continue. I'm going to go now to Don Lemon's interview with his psychotherapist who analyzes Nolan Will's case. And they ask the question, are they hiding something? Well, I think the question to that is a resounding, absolutely yes. Okay, that's just what I think. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, let me get my overlay for this.
House correspondence. Every time he insulted someone and they wanted to move on from a question, I would say, that's my question. Same as hers. You didn't answer my colleague's question, so I'll ask it for her or him. So I don't care. I could care less. I had 0 F's to give about whether Donald Trump likes me. He doesn't. I don't care. I am okay with that. I care that every time he chooses personal grievance over public service, he
has been interviewed. And some of the things that he said in the interview are worth noting. So I want to talk about them here. So watch this short clip from his interview and then stick around. Let's talk about it.
Did you have anything to do with Nolan's death?
No.
Do you have personal knowledge of someone directly in your friend group having anything to do with Nolan's death?
Nobody wakes up and says, today feels like a good day to run up my credit cards. It happens quietly. Groceries cost more, insurance goes up, something breaks, and then another thing breaks, and suddenly your credit card balance is sitting there looking like it paid.
Professional psychotherapist, and a lot of people have been wondering the same thing, but you have an education and a title and history behind you. So talk to me. Good morning, by the way, and thank you for doing this.
Good morning, man. Thanks for having me.
Why'd you decide to do this and go over these videos and analyze them? I think it's amazing.
Because I think it's important. I think that people don't really know what they're looking at, and people are making very harsh judgments on both sides. And being a trained clinician, I wanted to add context. I wanted to let people know that there are things happening there that if you pay really close attention, you can see it.
Go on.
Like, for example, I have been interviewing people as a psychotherapist for 20 years. I also train people, including police departments, law enforcement, drug courts, on how to interview people. I've been to countless family courts and talking people through divorce and interview children when they are subjected to abuse. Like, when you ask a question like, do you or any of your friends have done anything to Nolan, or do you know anything about Nolan? To answer so calmly and just say no is incredibly unusual. Like, there should be some level of, even like, I'm offended to be asked that. I'm upset that I'm in this circumstance. I want everybody to know that I had nothing to do with it, and I can't believe this has happened. That answer tells me that he's not in disbelief that this has happened, and that there's something there that he is not willing to disclose. Now, in full transparency, I don't know what that is, but if I were interviewing him, I would be very interested in there is something behind his answer, and I would want to be able to find out what it is. The other thing that I think is really important in this circumstance is, regardless of whose version of the story you believe, that interviewer is talking to one of the last known people to be seen with Nolan. And a really relevant question to him would be, given that you are one of the last known people to be seen with Nolan, what do you think happened? Because your hypothesis is going to be more credible than anyone else's hypothesis in the circumstance, because you were actually there, one of the last credible people. And what that would do in this scenario, which is why I think journalistically, which obviously you can speak more of that than I can, you would get an answer on the record. So like, you would be able to get him to say, here's what I think happened, XYZ, and you now have him giving his version of the story. But at no point in that interview did he ask him to describe his version of the story. All he said was, in essence, it wasn't me, and it wasn't anybody that I know. And that is just super odd. That's very unusual.
A couple of things, Andy. I don't know if you have the one where Elliot talks about him, this young man, I forget what his name is.
Okay, Trisha says, unsanked queen, LOL. Yeah, that's what he said, right? Okay, with all the money his parents make, and I'm sure he went to private school, he should know better. Okay, it's unsunk. That's the correct terminology, but what do I know?
Wyatt or something, where he goes back to this, where he's looking and he's describing what happened and taking him back to the scene. I want to play it a little bit, and then, yeah, let's listen if you have it, Andy. I'm not sure if it's.
There's another video that I saw of Warren Hudson discussing the details of the day that he got separated from Nolan Wells when he went missing. I want you to watch this clip and let me explain the things that stood out to me as I watched it.
People say that you guys just left Nolan behind. I've seen reports of people saying that you just left him. I see reports of people saying that you asked him to get on the boat. You told him to get on the boat. He didn't. What's the truth in that?
Well, Wyatt was having boat issues and the bilge wouldn't pump. So the bilge is basically a pump that releases water from your boat when water comes in. So I opened the back hatch and there's water up to the batteries. And that is obviously not good. There's water almost coming over the transom, which is where your motors sit, and which is by the stern, like in the back part of the boat. So obviously we were in emergency. The boat, we're trying to save the boat. It's not like we didn't ask Nolan or we just left Nolan. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with. And the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah.
I'm a practicing psychotherapist. I've been working with clients who are struggling with issues like things like grief for over 20 years. And this young man is behaving very unusually. I'm going to give you some examples to demonstrate as to what I mean. Number one, the person doing the interview, whose name I will not say because I do not support him, he brought him to the location where this happened.
Okay.
That should have been.
So you're saying, and you can explain it to yourself, but I just want to see, this is how you've been analyzing these videos. You're saying that wasn't traumatizing to him. You explain it.
Yeah, I mean, again, like that's incredibly unusual. It is worth noting that everybody does grief and trauma differently, but I should see some evidence of grief and or trauma. And if you think about the context of that video, so this person, Warren, described Nolan Wells as his best friend and brother. 2 weeks later, he did not attend the funeral, and he did not ever seem like emotional or frustrated or sad that he couldn't attend his best friend's funeral because he didn't want to be there and do all the uncomfort, which is fair, but that should at least be hard for you. And then 2 weeks after, you go back to the last spot where you saw your best friend. There was no change in his vocal tone, his body language. There was no emotional trying to hold anything back. He was far more comfortable talking about the details of a bilge on a boat than he was about anything that happened to his supposed best friend. These things are just incredibly odd. And as a psychotherapist and someone who interviews people, like that would stand out to me as super duper unusual.
Stand by, Elliot. I'm fixing something.
Yeah, no problem.
Y'all, is edge control. Every edge control I've ever came across.
Okay, so Elliot, let me ask you this: when you talk about that the person who is doing the interview, don't you say doesn't it say something about who he picked to do this? What kind of person he would go to in order to give his story? That was something that stood out to me. It's like, why is he going to this guy? This guy's like by no means some impartial person that just wants to get the truth. He has an agenda.
I absolutely think the choice on who was going to do the interview was strategic, and they clearly are talking to someone with an agenda that is in line with their agenda, and they're not interested in truth. And this is very important. Like, people have attacked me on social media, which is fine. I don't.
Now, let me just add to what he's saying, okay? Let me piggyback off of that really quick. He said people are not interested in truth. Well, he's absolutely right. I've told you all that several times. The MAGA minions, as nefarious as they are, they don't care anything about truth, receipts, and evidence. They don't want there to be any. And if there is some, they always try to debunk it, and then they lie. Because the things they try to use to debunk it are just their own words. They never have any physical evidence or proof, okay? It's just, I'm white, and I said so. So this is what it is, and y'all are lying, and y'all are doing too much, okay? And y'all just want these white boys to be guilty. Here's the thing. We didn't want anyone to be guilty. We wanted Nolan to still be alive and thriving. We wanted him to go and enjoy his 4th of July holiday and make it to football training on that Monday as he was supposed to, so he could become the man that he wanted to be and accomplish the goals that he had set for himself, okay, as his parents said. That's what we would want. But sadly, that isn't the case. So now, whoever did it, whether they're white, black, or whatever, we want them to be punished. We want justice for Nolan Wells. Okay, it doesn't matter the race of the person. If it were a black person, do you think we wouldn't still be going in? I'm sorry, y'all think we don't go in? See, here's what the MAGA minions try to do. They try to act as though we don't go in when black people kill other black people. We absolutely do. We absolutely do. Now, all the time, you all don't hear us going in because a lot of times these things are not portrayed in the media. They love to come on the media and paint the narrative of black on black crime and act as though we don't care about that, but we're more concerned about white people killing black people. Well, here's the thing. Like I told you all numerous of times for years now, if Ray Ray and Pookie kill somebody, when they get caught, if there's enough evidence to, justify probable cause, they're going to get arrested and they're going to go to prison. It's not always the case when it's rich white folk or even broke white folk, but specifically when it's wealthy white folk who have high-ranking positions such as judges, lawyers, doctors. Okay, the usual. Okay, but let's continue. Like stuff, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
But I've said often, this family deserves justice. And I think people hear that. They hear the word justice, and they tie an accusation, because justice sounds like you think someone needs to be convicted. But justice just means truth. That's all justice means, the pursuit of truth. And this interviewer is not actually interested in truth because he asked no truth-pursuing questions. He's only asking, in fact, at times leading.
I agree.
Boys to give answers that will make them look more and more innocent. And I think that's a terrible job.
You're muted, Don.
As a professional person, you are not, you haven't treated him. He's not your person. He's not your patient. But you have learned some things over the years, right?
Yes.
And you're professional.
Yes.
So what else, because you've done a number of videos, what else stands out to you? He's not the only friend. There's another friend. And each of these friends, I find it interesting. Maybe it's just these newfangled times, but your best friends and your parents don't know and have never really met your best friend. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I agree.
There's a lot of things. I mean, how much time you got, Don? There's a lot of things I stand out.
How much time do you have? We'll take you for as long as you can.
Okay, now the lounge, I'm going to let you elaborate on that really quick before we go back to what the psychotherapist is saying. Gouda Gag says MAGA minions. Yes, that's what I call them, beloved. You see, I feel like it's very important to differentiate them from the good white folk, which clearly they're not. Okay, they're the ones that are racist and hateful and despicable and nefarious. Okay, are the ones who don't care about justice and truth unless it's benefiting them. But they don't want us to have the same rights and privileges. Okay, because again, they're white and they say so. Okay, the words of Tariq Nasheed. Okay, I have to give credit where it's due. Now, with that all being said, what do you think about all of this, the lounge? Like specifically, tell me your thoughts. Tell us your thoughts on the fact that he's saying that when Warren was doing this interview with Rage Batum Tatum, that he Tatum, that is, was asking these, these soft batch questions, wasn't going in hard in the paints, and it sometimes did appear to be leading him. Okay, what do you think about
Mhm.
that? But also, what do you think about how Warren was answering the question, specifically the part on the last, on that video that I showed, where he seemed to have forgotten his train of thought?
Yeah, I think he was asking them, yes, very soft questions, but then questions like, did you have anything to do with the, unaliving Nolan? But when he was
Mm-hmm.
asking like Warren questions, Warren, he seemed like he was in some of the questions in La La Land, or trying to trying to what's it called? Trying to not answer the question but talk about something else. Like he wasn't really focusing. But my thing too is that both of them, which seemed very, very odd to me, because like Don Lemon said, what we're all like, everybody who has children, right? We know our kids have friends, they have best
That's right.
friends, they got close friends. Whatever category
Mm-hmm.
you fall in, you know that best friend is going to be the one that has came over, met your parents, your family, probably went on, family reunions and been invited to the barbecues and stuff like that. So for them to kind of throw themselves and say we're Nolan's best friends, and the mom's like, well, I don't really know you, or whatever she said word for word, because I'm not sure what she said word for word, but that's what they were saying. She's saying that she don't know us, this, that, and the third. Well, if you are a close friend or a just a friend, probably not going to meet your parents. But if you're a best friend and you know Nolan since he was younger, like what, elementary, middle school, or even high
Mm-hmm.
school, and you're considered a best friend, best believe y'all gonna be spending the night hanging out, doing this, doing that, going to the movies, going to basketball games, football games at the high school. You're gonna be doing a lot of things to where y'all going to his house, going to each other's houses. So your mother, your parents knows who your best friend is. So for them to say that, even to try to, I felt like they were attacking Nolan's mom, like basically like we're his best friends, and that we're his best friends. And for her to say that, no, like I don't know you to be Nolan's best friends. But that was very suspicious to me, because I'm like, all of you guys are saying that y'all are his best friends, but ain't nobody trying to help the best friend's mother, trying to get answers to what happened to Nolan. Like, it's very, very suspicious to me. But these are a bunch of entitled rich kids, entitled rich children that feel like they can, just do whatever. I mean, they were on the boat. I mean, you have boys, I have children, and never in my mind would I have at 15, 16, 17 allow my child now to go on a boat with another 15 or 16-year-old child driving that boat. I mean,
No,
us black people,
crazy, right?
yeah. I'm like, what if something happens to them? I mean, they're probably like 30, 40 miles out, and then they don't have nobody to help. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
it's really, really crazy. But I heard that the grandfather, he's like, of course, they're rich, they're like filthy rich. But I heard that he's like, I think a CEO or something of something out there. But of course, they're rich. The stepmom, Warren's stepmom is a judge. His dad is a doctor. So they very wealthy, like spoiled kids. Like, I can talk to you any old kind of way, just like we seen them, the whoever it was on call to the tow people talking crazy, what, huh, what, just totally disrespectful. You could tell they're little spoiled brats. Their parents probably didn't even the grandparents have control over them like that. But hopefully Ben Crump is on the case. It's gonna be, I believe, Aubrey 2.0. And I don't know if other areas, because I'm not like spun up in this what I'm about to say. I'm not sure if they would be able to bring other, like, go to like another city or whatever to help bring in like some kind of justice so they can kind of break up the monotony that they have there,
You
because
mean like a change of venue?
yeah, like a change of venue to where they can't just, it's just them taking care of the situation instead of, taking it out. Yeah, a change of venue so they can get some clear transparency from people that are outside who don't know, the area or all those judges and
Right.
people, police and all that stuff, so they can have a clear and fair, investigation.
Right. Well, they're not going to do that absolutely because then they couldn't keep up the rules. But with that
Mm-hmm.
being said,
That's true.
Gouda, I love you too, beloved. Okay, I absolutely do, and I love all of my loyal royals. And Cheryl Ann says stage interview. He already knew the questions, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, he
Yeah.
probably sent them the questions ahead of
Mm-hmm.
him flying down there to Mississippi. At the end of the day, it's very apparent, and he was definitely asking soft batch questions and leading them. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it was obvious he was on their side. Here's the thing: it would have been much more respectful, in my opinion, had he just been objective. As
Mm-hmm.
if he had, if he'd asked um, the questions that we want to know, we the people, if he'd asked those questions without trying to help Warren and Tristan to paint narratives. Because he did ask some of the questions, but at the same time he asked the questions, he also dispelled the things that people are saying or the things that people think. When in fact, he could say that we don't know if that's true or not, the things that we're thinking, and he's right. But at the same time, he was acting like what Warren and Tristan said was 100% true, and he knew it for a fact. How does he know that for a fact? Is he a mind reader? Okay, what makes them be so truthful, but the rest of us to be so stupid or to just be rage baiting, which is absolutely what he's doing. But that's basically what he's accusing us of and talking about race hustling. He's the biggest race hustler on YouTube, in my opinion. Absolutely, okay? Absolutely. He's the best to ever do it. As far as
Mm-hmm.
rage baiting is concerned, I'm going to give credit
Mm-hmm.
where it's due. He does a good and thorough job of tap dancing, tiptoeing around the tulips, okay, and skinning and grinning and licking the boots and kissing the ring of the
Mm-hmm.
MAGA minions. He works hard at it. Okay, he
Mm-hmm.
works very hard at that indeed. And I don't think that he likes black people and not even himself, as I've told you all before. And now he's
Mm-hmm.
come out and said that we're all just mad because he exposed the truth in the interviews. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
expose anything except the fact that they're liars and their stories are contradictory. Because
Mm-hmm.
Tristan said something that absolutely contradicted what Warren said, and Warren said something that absolutely contradicted what Warren said previously. He
Mm-hmm.
contradicted himself. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
let's continue. Don't forget to hit the like button, beloved.
I know you're on a schedule, but go for it.
But
Let us know when you
a
have to
couple of
go
things.
too.
There's several things that stand out to me. Number one, you're referring to this person again, best friend, brother, and the mother is saying, especially the second boy whose name I can't remember, Tristan, I think, something like that. She's saying, I've never met him. Again, that is incredibly unusual. And he is saying, like, we've been friends for a long time. And then he later had to admit, I didn't even live in that area until the 9th grade. And the mom is saying, I don't even know that boy. But you want to know the biggest thing that stands out to me that's common amongst these two interviews we've seen so far is the body language. Now, I want everybody listening, if you didn't know anything about this topic and you muted the video and you just played the video, you would see a few things that are really important. Number one, both boys are sitting back from the interviewer. Now, one of the things that you'll know as someone who's trained to attend to these things, oftentimes a conversation to the person being interviewed is almost like an inanimate object. So if we're talking about something that makes me uncomfortable, we have a tendency to like lean back from that uncomfortable thing. The other thing is if you pay attention to who his arms being crossed, that is very, very indicative of a secret being held because we literally protect ourselves like this.
Okay, I'm sorry. Didn't the queen tell you all that this morning? Didn't I tell you all that this morning? And the hands tucked under his arms. Also,
Yep.
it's because he was trying not to talk with his hands, trying not to use his hands when speaking. And it's always a defensive posture when you have your
Mm-hmm.
arms folded like this as you're being asked questions, whether you're being interviewed or interrogated. That's a sign of
Mm-hmm.
someone who definitely has someone to hide. Okay, just like I told you all this morning. Okay, because I've studied body language too. Okay, let's get into it.
That's a very common way that people show that they are what we refer to clinically as closed off. So much so that if I'm working with a couple, for example, and let's say,
oh my gosh, doctor, I look at this. I didn't even notice that. You're so right. I'm
Right.
sorry.
No,
Yeah.
so let's say, and by the way, I have a master's degree, not a doctorate, but anyway, I don't want to be compared to other people.
Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, is that who he's talking about? I find it interesting. Now, I wonder if they're going to say anything about those dirty arse pants that he's wearing. You couldn't have paid me $1,000 or more to wear those on a live, okay? And I'm being interviewed, child, please.
So let's say, for example, I'm clinically sitting with a couple, and the woman suspects her husband is having an affair, and I ask, is this accurate? Some version of is this accurate? And the husband goes like this. No, that's not true. I would immediately be thinking, why are you closed off? And very likely would ask, because that's a very, very common thing. And if you look at both interviews, both boys are distancing themselves from the interviewer, which is in essence distancing themselves from the topic itself. And the second boy sat the entire time closed off. I would be very interested as to why. And the interviewer should have asked, why are you so closed off?
And did not.
Did not. No, did not.
Do you look? Can we talk about this interview? You said because you don't support him. I have to say the same thing. I don't know what. My mom watched him and she goes, "Who raised him?"
I am weak.
Look, that's just my mom, and I don't understand.
I know exactly who raised him. I told you all this days ago. Steven from Django. Okay, that's who raised him, clearly. That's who raised him. I told you all this days ago. Please pay attention.
Exactly.
Well, I know what it is. It's like making money off of that, or that's in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is a grift. And unless you are just that, far gone. You're a psychotherapist. Please explain this behavior to me.
Now, please note that Don said this is a grift, what Tatum is doing, and I told you all the same thing. That's what it is. He's very disingenuous, okay? He's doing all of this because he's making money. He's being paid to do so. And we have, sadly, a few Black people, okay, on ScrewTube that are like that. Ringo Reactions, okay? What's the other
Oh my
guy's
God.
name?
Ringo.
What's the other,
Oh my
what's
goodness.
that other guy's name? Isn't his name Daniel
Steven.
somebody? Who?
Oh, I know who
The
you're
one that
talking
got
about.
into
With
Daniels.
Anton
That's it.
Daniels. There you go. Yeah,
Yeah, that's him.
those are all,
Mhm,
they're related, all of them.
absolutely.
If you can.
I think, well, number one, I don't know this person personally, so this is just my assessment from what I've been able to observe. And in the world we live in now, there are massive rewards for just getting clicks and views and things like that. And there are lots of people, and I'm sure, Don, you see them, people out there watching, you guys see this. There are people where you have to question, does this person even believe that? Or are they only saying these things because there are views, clicks, and even financial rewards for them saying it? This person, he's ignoring such overt signs of deceit that I have to question, is he doing this because he knows he's going to get massive views and support from a particular segment of the audience that is going to make him feel good and feed his ego? I think that's a shame. I think the family deserves better than that, which is why I have yet to say his name in a video.
Well, let's talk about that because he also ignores a lot.
Hold on for a second. I just want to say, you don't have to say his name, beloved. Just call him the raccoon that he clearly is. Okay. And Charlotte says, someone in the chat said that was the style of their $200 jeans. Yeah, I've seen those jeans a couple of years ago. I've actually seen those jeans a couple of years ago, but here's my thing. If you're going to do an interview, do you really want to wear something that looks dirty? And we don't know if they were actually dirty or you just bought the jeans that look dirty. Either way, you should be presentable, is all I'm saying. These are likely what he had on. First of all, what fool? Because you'd
I,
have to be a whole fool, in my opinion, to buy dirty arse jeans. You can make dirty jeans yourself. Just take old jeans, take them outside and roll them in the dirt, put a little mud on them, a little water to make the mud settle, and then wear them. Why would you spend $200? That's
but I
crazy,
don't.
right? But
Yeah, I don't
people are so
know.
foolish. Sir, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry because if you look at his shirt, his arm is dirty too.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's why I said he looked like he'd been doing construction work, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah,
Or landscaping, perhaps. Down on his hands and knees, digging up dirt, planting flowers or something. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Because the shirt also was dingy. Now, is that the style too? Just to walk around looking bummy like you're dirty and dusty? I mean, looking like you could possibly be someone unhoused. I don't know who wants to look like that besides a fool, but let's continue because what do I know?
A lot of history and a lot of present. And when he, says, well, race is not involved in this, when people say that, well, maybe race isn't maybe it may not turn out to be what happened, right, in this particular situation. But when people look at that picture, it's obvious that race is involved. When they saw the picture of him with all the white kids and whatever, fine. People are drawing conclusions. But that speaks to race, especially online. People are like, wait a minute, what's going on here? That shows you, that is indicative of the history of this country and that people are aware of that they have suspicions. And I don't think that that is a bad thing to have. I don't think you should draw conclusions about these folks or their guilt or what have you. But the evidence is there. And I understand why people are questioning it. And that's
well,
race.
I think it's an absolute shame. Like, you can't remove context from the circumstances. And part of the context, the historical context, is this happened in Mississippi. In that interview he did with the second boy, they're actually saying, like, the history doesn't matter here because we've grown and changed. That you cannot remove context from circumstance. And the history of Mississippi tells us that Black people in the Black community cannot trust the justice system. So you cannot, in any way, shape, or form, disavow a Black person who doesn't have confidence in the justice system. And anyone who knows anything about Mississippi. So I'll tell you a really quick thing. I went to a place called Glendora, Mississippi. I was doing a road trip and I wanted to stop by Money, Mississippi and Glendora, Mississippi. And people aware of history, Money, Mississippi is where the grocery store that Emmett Till encountered Carol Bryant. And that's where that incident happened that led to his ultimate death, which was in Glendora, Mississippi. So I was there and I wanted to find the landing, the shore where they found Emmett Till's body. And I was going around, I had no idea where it was. There's no signs to find or anything like that. So I saw like random people, usually Black people. And I said, hey, can you help me find this? And they wouldn't talk about it. One person said, we're not comfortable talking about this. I said, how come? And this person looked me right in my eyes and said, because the grandchildren of the people who did that are still here. That was 70 years after the lynching of Emmett Till. So don't tell me that history doesn't matter. Now, to your point, Don, which I think you just excellently made, that doesn't mean that these boys are specifically guilty because the history of that area has a very difficult racial context. But it does mean you cannot remove context from circumstance. And this interviewer is actively trying to remove history from circumstance. And what he's doing, I'm going to use a clinical term, he's gaslighting the Black community. Because what he's saying essentially is, you Black people are crazy for thinking this. But we think this because the historical context of that area has made us think this.
And let me say something else too that Brandon Tatum did or said that was so stupid. He talked about how they had been back and forth to Horn Island so many times and that all of a sudden they decided to kill him. Well, maybe, because here's the thing. Someone can be married to a person for 10, 20 years, and then all of a sudden one day decide to kill them. So why? And this is how you know he's so disingenuous, okay? He used to be a police officer, so he knows the things that he's seen and dealt with when he was in the line of duty. He knows the things that he's seen other people, his colleagues, deal with in the line of duty. He's had interrogations and all of these things. Okay, so he knows all of this. He was doing softball questioning. He was sitting there painting narratives and helping them to paint narratives. And just like the good psychoanalyst said, okay, he was gaslighting us. All right. And trying to act like we're just crazy for even thinking such things. But also, every point that Tatum tried to make in those interviews had already been made. He was sitting there trying to act as though he's digging up the truth, okay, and burying the lies and the deceit and the misinformation. But he wasn't doing anything of the sort because the things that he was saying had already been known to everybody. Nobody ever said that Nolan went there and was on that island alone, all by himself with 3 white guys. Nobody ever said that. Nobody ever said there wasn't hundreds or thousands of people out there on the 4th of July. Nobody ever said that. And nobody would since ever would, because we all clearly saw the video footage and the pictures. Okay, so nobody said that. So him acting as though he had to point that out to us when we already knew it. It was a whole load of BS. Okay, and then him also sitting there talking about, somebody would have seen something and all of this stuff. Well, yeah, somebody would have likely seen something. And that's why we should know that Nolan wasn't left on that island. Okay, that's why we should know that. Okay, please pay attention. And then him also just taking Warren and Trayson's words for everything they said, specifically when Warren was talking about why they had the phone and it was in Wyatt's boat and they didn't delete or erase anything out of it. Then he showed us that bogus text message. Okay, I'm gonna call it bogus, saying that the judge Ashley Cole actually texted Nolan's mother, offering her help and support. The same lady who deactivated her social media and who I told you weeks ago, I believe she told them to do the same, that she was the one that was leading the cover up. Okay, she came out and spoke on it when she had no business doing so. So we're supposed to think that she really wanted to help these people? I don't think so at all. And here's the thing. If Warren didn't do anything to Nolan, why would he have not at least wanted to ask if he could come to the funeral? Or why wouldn't he just show up? Now he did, or have shown up. Now he did say that he was in fear for his life and his safety. But that's a crock of BS. Who's going to harm him at a funeral? And of course, he should have known that they had security there. Okay, first of all, because Benjamin Crump and Al Sharpton were there. They're public figures. Okay, hated by many of the MAGA minions. So you think they don't walk around with bodyguards and security? Okay, you don't think they would have had security for the family of Nolan since they were getting so much exhibited hates? Okay, and all of that, please. Now we're going to wrap this up in just a second. But let's continue.
And it's weird that you're trying to like divorce the two, the circumstance from the situation that's happened, from the context. And that is actively gaslighting. You're making someone who's making a logical conclusion feel crazy for that logical conclusion. That's wrong.
The person who invented this cleaning product is so smart. No matter how dirty your oven is.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
Thank you. I know that you have patience and I know that you have to do stuff. I'm so happy that you came on and I hope that you would come back because I've been watching your videos and it's helping me even to be able to report the story. And oftentimes it's frustrating and you add clarity to this. And it's just, I think it's amazing. And I want everyone to go and follow you. It's on Instagram. I follow you on Instagram. I'm sure you're on other platforms, but it's Elliot Speaks. Let me put my glasses on so I can read this. Because old people have bad eyes.
I'm one of them
old
too.
people be having bad eyes. Elliot Speaks. It's Elliot Connie, he, him. And we'll get his followers up, but it is amazing. It's amazing what you do. This isn't my page because mine would say follow, already followed. Anything else you want to tell us and where else can we find you?
No, I just want to say thank you, Don. I think the coverage from people like yourself, it's helping the wheels of justice turn. I'm not sure any of these things would have happened had so much noise not been around this case. I tell people all the time, Black people, not only do we deserve to live, we deserve to be anonymous. And what I mean by that is I shouldn't know that name. There's no reason I should know the name Nolan Wells. And I hate that I live in a world where I know it. I wish that he was just an anonymous kid who graduated from high school and went off to college and did his thing, and I never knew his name. But now, because of people like you, Don, we all need to know his name, and we need to keep talking about it because that's what keeps the wheels of justice turning, because without public pressure, sometimes the wheels of justice screech to a halt, and never in any more place than the South Mississippi, when the subject who needs justice is a Black person, and particularly a Black man. So I'm so thrilled that you are lending your voice, your platform, your power to this kind of story, and I'm honored that you would include me in that journey. And I also want to say, we've actually met before, and I was so excited to meet you. We met at Jason Lee's Hollywood Unlocked Impact Award.
Yes.
So a couple of weeks ago when you followed me,
Yes.
I texted Jason. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. So now I'm really glad to be here with you, and I'll be here anytime you need me to be, because I think this story and other stories like it are really important. And then lastly, what I want to do as a psychotherapist, I want to provide context for what people are seeing. I can't help but sit back and watch when people don't have context, they just rush to judgment. And that rush to judgment is a problem. And I think what this nation and this culture and this society needs more than anything else, it's healing. And part of what's going to provide healing is clarity. And I hope that my videos and the information I share provides clarity in a very difficult situation.
All right, absolutely well said. And he made some very good points. But what I want to say is this, and then the lounge, we're going to let you speak, and we're going to be closing out in just a few minutes. But what I want to say is this. So as I told you all, that I think that they were playing that game of cat and mouse with Nolan, as I dreamt about, and then they pulled him on the boat after they saw he kept going under, and they panicked. And here's the thing. Here's why I don't think that there was a fight on the boat. I think he did die on the boat, but I don't think it was due to a fight. I think it was due to them playing that game of cat and mouse, because, you know, they like to taunt us. Okay. These MAGA mans, and they are all MAGA mans, in my opinion. I mean, they sat down with Officer Rage Batum Tatum, and they expressed how much they admired him and liked him. And that's why they wanted to come on his platform to tell their stories. Okay. So with that being said, it's safe to assume that, of course, they're MAGA minions. Okay. But here's the thing. I think that Nolan died on the boat after they allowed him to drown by playing those games of cat and mouse, okay? And the reason I think that is because, think about this. We heard them in the background saying things like, check his chest. Nolan, wake the F up. You see, that leads me to believe that some of them, at least, not talking about Warren and Wyatt, but at least there seems to have been some people on that boat who didn't want him to die. Okay, that's what it sounded like on the audio. It sounded like some of the people on that boat didn't want him to die. And remember what Trayston said. No one wanted to see him die. No one wanted to see him lose his life. He literally said those words. No one wanted to see Nolan die. To see Nolan die. And remember, you heard it here first. I told you all weeks ago that he said in his interview with Rolling Stone and the one with ABC, where we just heard his voice, that he said no one wanted to see Nolan die. And I said, don't you all find that interesting, his choice of words? Because I said the fact that he said no one wanted to see Nolan die, that lets us know that somebody absolutely saw something. Okay, somebody absolutely saw something. Because why would he say that? He could have just simply said, as I think most people would say, no one wanted Nolan to die. But he said no one wanted to see Nolan die. So somebody saw Nolan die, in my opinion. Okay. And like I said, I don't think that they went there to kill him that day. I think that he did die. And I think that at least one person there wanted him to. And I think that person was Warren or Wyatt. More likely, in my opinion, Warren. I think Warren was very jealous. Okay. I think he was very jealous. And someone, in my opinion, was likely jealous of Katie. Okay. That she was giving Nolan this attention. And I would venture to guess that with these group of friends that Nolan was hanging out, remember, he had two sets of friends, Black friends and other friends. So when he was hanging out with the other friends, the ones like Warren and Wyatt and all of them, I would venture to guess that Nolan got the most attention when they were out and about. That Nolan got the most attention. Nolan was the best looking out of them all, as we can see. Nolan was built very nicely. Okay, he was slim but muscular because he played football and he was athletic. And like his father said, he was an elite athlete. And I do think that Warren would likely could possibly have been jealous that he was going to start his football training, okay, on that Monday. Okay, so he could have been there pretending that it was all fun and games, like it's a joke, okay, like pulling the boat off and then going back and whatnot. Could have been doing that as a joke, him or Wyatt, but in the back of their minds, really wanting him to die and drown. And the reason I say that is because of all these other cases of Black people who've gone out alone with their white friends and never come back. And they had these deaths that were deemed as accidental drownings. Okay, and we've seen for ourselves how they play these games of cat and mouse. We saw it with the guy that was out there on the lake, and his white friends brought him out there. They were mocking him and making the monkey noises and all of that, laughing like it was just a joke and like it was all fun and games, but really at the same time placing him in danger. So I absolutely think that that's exactly what that was. And the other friends, when Warren or Wyatt's, and this is all alleged, okay? This is pure speculation. I don't know any of this to be true. I'm just saying that it could be true, and it's absolutely what I think and believe. So, with that all being said, the other friends could have been on the boat laughing and giggling, thinking themselves that it was, in fact, a game, that it was funny. Because, some of the mega millions, that's how they play. Not knowing that in real reality, that somebody amongst them really was hoping that he would drown. Okay. And the ones who didn't want him to die are likely the ones that pulled him onto that boat and tried to save him. Remember, check his chest. Okay. Check his chest. Nolan, wake the F up. That sounds like somebody who wanted Nolan to live. Now, maybe they wanted him to live because they panicked and didn't want to get in trouble, but maybe they wanted him to live because they didn't know that that was even going to happen. And they thought that this is a joke, a prank that just went too far. We've seen this movie before, and I mean literally. There's Lifetime movies about things like this. And let me just say this for the record, too, because Officer Rage Batum Tatum says that we're making this about race, but Nolan sat there. I'm not sorry, not Nolan. Warren sat there interviewing with him and talked about the different races that he had been friends with: Black, mixed, okay, and all of that. Mexicans. Why did he have to tell us all of that? That's all about race, right? And ethnicity. And then we had Trayston, who said that Nolan wasn't even all Black. He's part Asian. What is that all about? Why did he feel the need to say that? Did he want to make us feel that y'all are sitting here trying to go so hard to pay for him? He wasn't even full on Black. He was part Asian. And aren't y'all boycotting the Asians? Is that what he was trying to put out there? I absolutely think it was. Okay, they're clearly not his best friends and never were, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, if they were his best friends, how the hell does one person have three best friends? Okay, now the lounge, I'm going to let you go ahead, beloved, and then we're going to close out.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That when you just mentioned that about Nolan being part having some Asian in him,
Mm-hmm.
I what you said make like clear perfect sense. I didn't think about that like that. Like why would he say that? But when you have like for me like racists, they always say that like well it doesn't matter like you said before like blue purple whatever they are racist and that's how their true colors start to come out. But at the end of the day, I know they're having gonna do the civil lawsuit, but
Mm-hmm.
that to me a civil lawsuit of course is great because even though Nolan's gone you can't of course bring him back, rest in peace to him, and we
Mm-hmm.
understand that. But at the same time it's like I want them jokers in jail for doing this to my child, and along with the civil lawsuit. But I
Yes,
hope
that's
that
correct.
yeah, I hope that they can. I hope Ben Crump can pull a Aubrey 2.0 on them because just like in Georgia where they broke up all they little cliques and judges and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, I hope that he could do the same thing here with this case because they are too tight knit. I mean, his mother's a judge. The DA's in, even the medical examiner, the police are in. They're all tied together so tightly.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully Ben Crump and the team can kind of bust that up, and hopefully we can get justice for Nolan. So rest in peace to Nolan. I'm sorry, Nolan Wells, and prayers for his
Absolutely.
parents. Yeah, sad.
Mm-hmm. Now, Fun says, thank you, App QueenAhmadiyyah, for being forthright and sticking to the facts as we know it and limiting unverified rumors. Well, thank you, beloved, for your kind words. I appreciate you. Listen, I don't like to get caught up in conspiracy theories or things that just could have happened, but we don't have any proof that they happened. Well, I mean, we don't have any proof that any of it happened, but some of these things seem to be a bit far-fetched, some of the things that we've heard. And because just thinking about the circumstances, okay? Them doing all of these extra things that some people are saying, like the psychic who came out and said she claims she's a psychic. I don't know that she really is, but talking about they held a gun to his head. That's how he got the bruising on the back and all this other crazy stuff she was saying. I can't even remember all of it, but there's many different stories coming out. And the picture of the video of someone on the beach and all of that stuff just looks AI generated. Is definitely not Nolan. Okay, that's just a fact. And so, there's people putting out things to muddy the water. And that's what I don't ever want to do. I like to stick to the facts because the facts can be proven and you don't have to lie about the facts. You don't have to be concerned about forgetting the facts because the truth remains constant. Only lies are the things that you have to worry about. Okay, when you start telling lies, that's when you have to be worried and concerned as far as I'm concerned. Okay?
Exactly.
So the lounge, please tell everyone where they can find you on all your social media platforms.
So you guys can find me here on YouTube at the lounge 8385 and across all my socials, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.
Okay, absolutely. Now, let me just read this too. I'm not going to show this video because mostly in the video, I'm not going to show the whole video at least because he's mostly playing that audio that we've already heard several times at this point. But hold on. Let me go to this comment really quick first. Okay, Love Hip Hop says, I think if he drowned, they would have declared it a drowning, sent the throat and the lungs. No, I'm going to tell you why they wouldn't have done that, beloved. Please pay attention. I don't think they would have done that because I think they absolutely know there was foul play. You see, in the case, now pay attention, because we know the history of Stacy Turner, Dr. Stacy Turner, the medical examiner. Don't you all remember me telling you that there was a child, okay, who lost his life when he went out with his friends who didn't look like him? And he supposedly accidentally drowned and then or was drowned on purpose. But we don't know whether it was on purpose or not. We just know that he was with people who didn't look like him because Stacy Turner, she embalmed him. She had his body embalmed without getting any authorization from the family. She did that. So if he actually died from drowning, which is what some people were saying at the time, why would she have had him embalmed and not just ruled it an accidental drowning? I think it was because she wanted to cover it up because she knew that the white people that were with him, those kids that were with him, were involved. Okay, that's what I think. I can't prove it. Okay, so that's a case where they could have easily said he accidentally drowned. But instead of saying that, they had him embalmed and then lied and told the family that they don't do autopsies on drowned victims. That's what she said. So allegedly, according to the brother of the victim. So I absolutely think that this could be the case of what happened with Nolan, that they don't want to admit one way or another. And maybe we don't know. Maybe they did say he accidentally drowned. We don't know for facts because their autopsy report has not been shown to us. We don't know any of the specifics. The autopsy report's being taken to the grand jury. Okay, so and we don't even know if it'll be released after the fact. Maybe it will. But at the end of the day, another thing is, even if it was a drowning, and as long as we're sitting here looking at these people that went to the boat or went to the island with him, and we know how these things turn out from history, specifically down there in Mississippi, I absolutely think they would have kept the throat, the lungs, the brain, and whatever else they felt they needed to hinder and hamper the other pathologists. Okay, because if he had ruled it a drowning, he could have still made the argument that it wasn't an accidental drowning in his opinion. That in his opinion, there may have been some foul play. See, I just feel like they didn't want him to have anything conclusive. Because as I told you all a myriad of times, drowning is a cause of death, not a manner of death. There are many reasons a person could drown. You could go out to the water to drown on purpose because you want to delete yourself. You could be drowned by someone else holding you under the water. Okay, like they did Daryl, the young man named Daryl. What was his last last name that I just reported on, right? Daryl Lowry, okay, the 13-year-old who was drowned by the two white kids, okay, that he was in foster care with. So it could have been something like that. And then also it could have been just an accident. Someone swimming out too far, they got tired and couldn't make it through, or the water got too deep or was too treacherous for them to navigate through. So there's a myriad of reasons. So that pathologist, having the high prestigious experience and all the accolades that he has, likely could have figured all those things out. Okay, likely could have figured those things out if he had the throat, lungs, brain, and all the other parts that were missing. And see, they didn't even have the decency to send him the notes or tell him why they kept those parts. Okay, so that's just what I think about it. Okay, that's just my opinion. Now, with that being said, this is a video, like I told you all, I'm not going to show this whole video, but I do want to read what this young man has on here because this is interesting to me because now it looks like another story is changing. So it says the teenagers claim the boat began taking on water due to a failed bilge pump at approximately 4 p.m. Now, it was previously 4:31 p.m., but now they're saying teenagers are saying it was 4 p.m. I said that's the thing. When you get different people, you will definitely likely get different stories if people are lying. If everyone was telling the truth 100%, we would be hearing the same stories. The stories would be consistent from all of them. The stories would be the same no matter how many times they were questioned or asked. At the end of the day, the stories are changing for a reason, and I believe it's all because of lies. Now, that being said, he goes on to say, they say they called CETO for assistance, but later canceled the request, stating they found alternative help. However, community members have raised several red flags regarding the sinking claims. For instance, the caller struggled to explain basic details to the dispatcher, such as how fast the water was rising. Additionally, the boat was later seen returning to the mainland under its own power and was safely docked at a residence by 6:06 p.m., raising questions about whether it was ever truly in danger of going under. And not only that,
they just detained a husband and wife.
Not only was it docked at 6:06, it went back to Fort Bayou by 7:19, according to the GPS data information. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, I'm steady on the case. And shout out to everyone who's covering this case, not just for clicks and views and monetization, but because you absolutely want the family to get justice and because you want Nolan's death not to have been in vain. I think that we have absolutely opened up a whole can of worms down there in Mississippi because we're going in on this story and we're digging and trying to get to the truth. Okay, and I hope that we do. And the thing is, we know how these small towns and these communities get together, the people that don't look like us, when something happens to one of us, and try to cover it all up because they don't want their people going to prison, specifically not their wealthy people, not the children of their wealthy people, the elite amongst them in their communities. We know they don't want that, especially if there are Klansmen involved. Now, I'm not saying there are Klansmen involved. I'm just telling you that I believe there's Klansmen involved. I believe the Klansman is Sheriff Ledbetter. I believe the Klansman is Governor Tate Reeves. I believe that the Klansman or the Klanswoman is Judge Ashley Cole. I believe that many of these people, Dr. Stacey Turner, I believe that all of these people are affiliated with the Klan, and if not, some other wanton supremacist group that hates people who look like me. Okay, so with that all being said, beloveds, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this evening. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And until next time, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.
4th of July. Fireworks in the sky. But the truth's still buried underground. Royal Low. Yeah. They told me, wave the flag while the chains still clank. Told me praise the names on the blood-soaked banks. Told me freedom was born in the room full of men who wrote liberty down while they own human skins. The fucking founding fathers and the myths they made. I don't pledge to the lie, I don't kneel to the page. You can light up the sky, I remember the smoke from the fields, from the ships, from the necks in the rope. You call it independence, I call it selective. You call it patriotic, I call it protective of the story so fragile it cracks when questioned. Truth knocks once and they call it aggression. Yeah. Red for the blood they spill, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts, I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, yeah, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. They say, look how far we came. I say, look what it cost. Every courthouse got a shadow, every victory got lost. They gave statues to the takers, made heroes out of thieves, put their faces on the money while the hungry couldn't breathe. Don't lecture me on freedom from a stolen land stage. Don't quote old documents with blood on the page. Don't tell me be grateful for a seat at the table when my people built the room and got treated unstable. You can't buy me through the truth, you can dress it in stars, but the anthem still echoes like chains behind bars. I don't hate the people, I hate the disguise. I hate when the guilty get praised as the wise. Red for the blood they spill, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts, I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. Don't call it hate when the wound speaks back. Don't call it division when our name was fact. Don't call it progress while the system still bites. Don't call it freedom if we still gotta fight. I'm not here for comfort, I'm not here to pretend. I'm here for the children who deserve better than this. Better than myths, better than chains, better than flags used to cover up pain. So this one's for the ancestors who never got rest, for the names never written but who gave us their best, for the mothers who prayed, for the fathers who ran, for the babies born fighting in the stolen man's plan. This is not disrespect, this is correction. This is not rebellion, this is resurrection. You can keep your parade, I keep speaking the truth. I don't need permission to remember my roots. Royal oak in the soil, truth in the flame. If the crown came with silence, then I don't want the name. But if the crown means standing when the whole world falls, and I'm 10 toes down till the real story's told. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain.